A poor black girl stood at the gates of a mansion. She asked a paralyzed millionaire to trade his leftovers for a miracle. He laughed at her faith. But when the storm came and lives were at risk, her courage awakened something he had lost, and what happened next left the whole city in shock. The city lights sparkled in the distance, but on the edges of the streets darkness clung to the broken corners. Children played barefoot with sticks and stones, while mothers searched trash bins for scraps of food. Among them was a girl named Alina. Her skin glowed with youth, but her eyes carried the weight of hunger and struggle. She had nothing but courage and faith, and that was all she needed to face another day. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, Alina walked past the grand gates of the richest estate in town. The mansion stood like a palace guarded by tall fences and men in black suits. Behind the windows lived Mr. Raymond, a paralyzed millionaire known for his sharp tongue and cruel laughter. He had built his empire with steel and fire, but life had punished him with legs that no longer worked. Alina pressed her small hands against the cold iron gates. Her stomach growled, and her heart prayed. She had heard stories that Mr. Raymond threw away food every night, enough to feed entire families, while he mocked the poor who begged outside. Still, hunger pushed her forward. She whispered to herself, "Courage, Alina, courage." The guard spotted her and moved closer, but she lifted her voice clear and bold. "I do not ask for pity. I do not ask for money. I only ask to trade." She raised her little cloth bag toward them, filled with wildflowers she had picked from the roadside. "I will give these in return for the leftovers you waste. Please let me speak to Mr. Raymond." The guards laughed at her boldness, but curiosity pulled them. They had never seen a poor girl stand so straight with so much fire in her voice. They carried her message inside, and soon the great doors opened. Raymond himself rolled forward in his golden wheelchair. His eyes were sharp as hair, silver his smile, cruel. He looked at the girl with amusement and disbelief. "So you want to trade with me?" he said. His voice carried pride and mockery. "What miracle do you expect in return for weeds and scraps? You think I would lower myself to deal with a beggar?" Alina stood firm, her voice steady though her hands trembled. "I do not beg, sir, I trade, and I do not ask for miracles. I carry the miracles of faith, miracles of courage, miracles that cannot be bought or sold." The guards snickered, waiting for Raymond to crush her spirit, but something in her tone silenced even their laughter. Raymond leaned back in his chair, studying her more closely. His lips curled into a laugh, sharp and cold. "Very well, girl, bring me your so-called miracle. Trade your flowers for my leftovers. Let us see if your faith can feed your belly." The gates opened. The challenge had begun. The grand hall of the mansion glowed with golden lights and marble floors. Alina stepped inside, holding her little cloth bag of flowers close to her chest. Servants lined the walls, whispering among themselves. Some pitied her, but most expected her to fail. They had seen countless beggars humiliated before their master, and tonight would be no different. Raymond wheeled himself toward the long dining table, where plates of half-eaten dishes still lay untouched. Roasted meats, rich soups, sweet desserts, all steaming, all fresh, yet destined for the trash. His lips twisted into a smile as he waved his hand over the feast. He said, "Here are my leftovers. Take them. If you wish, you came for scraps, and scraps you shall have." The crowd of servants chuckled, but Alina did not move. She did not stretch her hand for the food. Instead, she placed her bag of flowers gently on the table. Their colors looked dull against the glittering dishes, but her eyes shone with a light no jewel could match. She said, "This is not about scraps, sir. This is about promise. You asked for a miracle. I will give you one. But first I must ask, do you believe that your wealth is power, or do you believe that your heart can still feel?" The hall grew still. Raymond narrowed his eyes, his voice heavy with pride and disdain. "I have no heart for beggars, girl. My wealth is my strength, my chair is my curse. But no flower, no word, no prayer can give me back what I have lost." Alina did not step back. She lifted her small hand and pointed to the table. Her voice rose strong, yet calm. "Then let us trade, not food for flowers, but pain for hope. I will take your leftovers not as a gift, but as an exchange. I give you faith that what is broken can be whole again." The servants exchanged looks. Some whispered that she was mad. Some said she was brave. Raymond laughed loud and bitter. His voice shook the glass windows. He said, "Faith cannot move bones, girl. Faith cannot give me legs. I was a giant once. Now I'm chained to this chair. Forever your miracle is nothing but air." Alina bent her head and whispered softly, "Perhaps, But sometimes air carries the breath of change. Sometimes faith is the key to chains. And sometimes the smallest seed grows into the tallest tree. Her words struck like arrows into the silence. For the first time in years, Raymond found no immediate reply. Something in her eyes unsettled him. He brushed it aside with a wave of his hand. Enough, take the food and go before my laughter turns into anger. Alina gathered the plates, carefully, not like a beggar, but like a guest at a holy feast. She whispered, "Thank you, sir. One day you will see that miracles live in those who believe." Raymond watched her leave his hall, the mocking smile still on his lips, yet hidden beneath it a spark of doubt, a spark that had not burned in his heart for many years. That night the mansion grew silent. After the laughter faded, Raymond sat alone in his golden chair, staring at the empty table. The flowers the poor black girl had left behind still rested in the center, their fragrance faint yet strangely persistent. His servants had asked if they should throw them away, but for reasons he could not explain, he had told them to leave the flowers untouched. He wheeled himself to the window, watching the moon climb above the city. For years he had lived surrounded by wealth, yet hollow inside. He had mocked the weak, cursed his own fate, and locked his heart behind iron walls. But now the words of a hungry girl echoed in his ears. Sometimes faith is the key to change. Sometimes the smallest seed grows into the tallest tree. He shook his head and whispered to himself, "Foolish child, foolish hope." Yet that night his dreams were not filled with gold and pride. Instead, he dreamt of walking again. He dreamt of standing tall upon the earth with the strength of a young man. His legs moved freely, his body rose like a mountain, and in that dream, the same little girl stood before him, holding the flowers, smiling, and saying, "Do you believe now?" Raymond woke in sweat, his legs still lifeless, his chair still heavy, but his heart beat faster than before. The dream unsettled him, but it also left behind a strange warmth. The next morning, he ordered his guards to follow the girl. They found Alina in the poor district sharing the food she had taken from his mansion. She did not keep it for herself. Instead, she divided the bread among children. She handed the meat to mothers. She gave the desserts to elders. Her own stomach remained empty, but her smile glowed brighter than any jewel. When Raymond heard this report, he grew silent. His fingers tapped against the arms of his chair. He muttered, "She had nothing, yet she gave everything. Who lives like this, who dares to share hunger with joy?" For the first time in many years, he felt curiosity, not for business, not for profit, but for a human soul. He ordered, "Bring her me again, but this time do not laugh at her, do not mock her." Alina was summoned once more to the mansion. She entered with the same calm steps, her eyes shining. As before, Raymond looked at her long and hard. He said, "Why do you give away what you fought for? You asked me for scraps, yet you ate none of them. You remain hungry." Alina answered, "Because hunger shared becomes lighter, because hope grows when planted in others, and because miracles do not come to those who keep, they come to those who give." Her words struck him deeper than before. He felt anger rise, because she shook the pride he wore like armor. He shouted, "Enough, stop speaking of miracles. There are no miracles for me." But deep in his chest, the spark of doubt grew brighter, and with it came the first crack in the iron walls of his heart. Days passed, yet the poor black girl remained in the thoughts of Raymond. The paralyzed millionaire found himself staring at the flowers she had left upon his table. Their petals had begun to wither, but their colors still lingered, and with every fading shade, he remembered her words more clearly. Hunger shared becomes lighter. Miracles do not come to those who keep, they come to those who give. One evening, a heavy storm struck the city. The mansion shook with thunder, and rain leaked from the high windows. The power flickered out, and for the first time Raymond was trapped in darkness. His servants rushed with candles and lamps, but he felt a fear rise in his chest, his body broken, his wealth useless, his power meaningless. He whispered to himself, "What good is gold if I am nothing but a prisoner in my own chair?" At that moment, a knock echoed against the mansion gates. Through the storm, Alina had come, soaked with rain, her small frame trembling, yet her voice strong. She had heard that the poor district was flooding, and she came not for herself, but to ask for help. She said, "Let the gates open. The children are drowning. The mothers have no shelter. Use your wealth to save them, not to mock them." The guards hesitated, but Raymond heard her voice through the roar of thunder. He ordered let her, and she entered, dripping water onto the marble floors. Her clothes clung to her skin, her face pale with cold, but her eyes brighter than the storm. She cried out, "Sir, your food can fill their stomachs, but only your courage can save their lives tonight. You have the chance to trade not scraps, but true power. Trade your pride for mercy." Raymond trembled. He had mocked beggars his whole life. He had laughed at weakness. Yet here stood a girl who had nothing but still fought for others. Her words cracked something deep within him, and he shouted to his men, "Go open the storerooms, send the blankets, the food, the boats, save them all." For the first time in years, his voice carried not cruelty, but command born of compassion. His servants hurried, and the mansion became a beacon in the storm. Food was carried out, warmth was shared, shelter was given. The poor gathered at the gates and were saved from the flood. Raymond sat in his chair, watching the scene unfold. His heart pounded with a rhythm. He thought lost. He whispered, "Is this what she meant? Is this the miracle?" Alina turned to him, drenched and shaking, yet smiling. She said, "Yes, sir, this is the miracle. Not walking, not wealth, not gold. The miracle is that your heart has opened again." Raymond felt tears burn his eyes. He had not cried in decades, but now he wept like a child. The storm outside began to calm. But inside the mansion, a new storm was breaking, the storm that shatters pride and awakens the soul. The morning after the storm, the mansion stood changed, not in its walls or its gold, but in the spirit that now breathed inside. Raymond looked from his window and saw children laughing with bowls of warm food, mothers resting in safety, elders smiling with gratitude, and at the center of it all was Alina, the poor black girl who had walked through rain and hunger with nothing but faith. Raymond called for her once more. When she entered his hall, she did not bow, and she did not fear. She stood with the same quiet strength that had carried her from the streets to his table. He said, "Girl, you spoke of miracles. You said they are found in not in keeping, but in giving. I mocked you. I laughed at you. But last night, I saw it with my own eyes. You have given me back something greater than legs. You have given me back my heart." Alina smiled gently and said, "The heart is the greatest treasure. Sir, once it awakens, no storm can break it." Raymond felt a weight lift from his chest. He looked at his lifeless legs, and for the first time in years, he did not curse them. He wheeled closer to her and placed his hand upon hers. His voice trembled, but carried truth. "I was a prisoner of pride, but you broke my chains. You came asking to trade leftovers for miracles. Yet in truth, you gave me more than I could ever give you." At that moment, something stirred inside him. A warmth moved from his chest down into his limbs. He felt a tingling in his legs. He gasped, and the servants rushed to his side. Slowly, carefully, with trembling effort, he placed one foot upon the ground. For the first time in years, his body obeyed his servants. Cried out in shock. Alina covered her lips with her hand, her eyes wide with joy. Raymond rose, unsteady, yet standing. Tears streamed down his face. He whispered, "This is the miracle, not just of faith, not just of hope, but of love." The servants fell to their knees, overcome with all. The mansion that had been filled with arrogance for years now echoed with cheers and prayers. Raymond reached for Alina and said, "From this day, you are no beggar. You are my family. You shall never hunger again, and together we will use this wealth not for pride, but for people." The story spread across the city. The poor spoke of the girl with flowers. The rich spoke of the millionaire who stood again, and all who heard the tale understood that true miracles are born when hearts are opened. If you believe in the power of hope and miracles like this story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. New, inspiring stories are coming every day.